Hey, and welcome to the Deep Resilience Podcast. I'm your host, Melly O'Brien, and in this podcast, along with my weekly newsletter and the Deep Resilience program, we are focusing on one clear goal: translating the best evidence-based tools and the deep wisdom teachings on mental resilience into practical everyday strategies that are accessible to everyone. It is my deep passion to bring you content that breaks down big concepts in ways that make sense to you, but also to make sure I give you tools in each episode that you can immediately use to grow your inner strength and create real positive change in your life and in the world. And hey, if you want to take your inner strength to the next level, be sure to join my newsletter at mellyobrien.com, where you'll receive a whole range of extra benefits, special offers, and bonuses. Let's dive in now to today's episode. Hey friends, before we dive into today's episode, I just wanted to give you a heads up that my transformational 7-day course, Unwinding Anxiety, has just launched. So if you've been feeling stressed, anxious, or overwhelmed, or like you just need a bit of a reset so that you can live from a place of more empowerment and enjoyment rather than feeling overwhelmed all the time, this course is designed for you. So over 7 days, I'm going to guide you through the 7 skills you need to break the cycle of stress and anxiety for good. For 7 days, you'll get short daily practices to create an internal sense of safety, stability, and strength, unwind the unconscious blocks that cause anxiety, and reconnect you with the steady ground of your deepest inner strength. Plus, I've got 7 daily coaching calls to support you. The course is only $85 and has over $300 worth of bonus items. It's money back guaranteed. And so for less than the cost of just one therapy session, you'll walk away with life-changing tools that will support you through all the ups and downs of your life. We begin on June 10th, and if you join before May 30th, you get a free copy of my best-selling book, Deep Resilience. I'd love for you to join us if this sounds like it'd be helpful for you. All the details are in the show notes. Now let's jump in to today's episode. Hey friends, I hope you're doing well wherever you're tuning in from. My voice may sound a little bit different on this episode. I am just recovering from probably COVID. I didn't actually do a test because I was quarantined off the whole time in my house with my cat, but I have been so sick. It's been an interesting month because I ran this beautiful course called Calm in Crisis. We had over 100 people on the course. The sense of community and camaraderie and kindness that I saw people show each other on that course was so inspiring and left me really feeling on a high of just loving this work and feeling so close to the community. And then I think within 48 hours of me finishing the course, I was suddenly pale as a sheet, fevering in my bed for days. It was a pretty rough transition. So it's taken me about 10 days to get back in the saddle, so to speak. And my voice hasn't fully recovered yet, but I'm happy to be back on the podcasting mic and reconnecting with work and the world. So today we're going to be exploring one of the most important inner strengths that we can develop when facing the challenges of life: becoming non-reactive. Now, we might think of being non-reactive as giving up or being passive, but that's not what it's about at all. In truth, being non-reactive is one of the most empowering, healing, and transformative skills we can ever learn. I mean, it's especially important when it comes to our emotions, because so much of our suffering, so much of our distress doesn't actually come from the initial hit of an unpleasant emotion, but it comes from our reaction to it. This is one of the most powerful skills, one of the most important insights that we can have when it comes to growing emotional intelligence. So today, what we're going to explore is what it really means to become emotionally non-reactive, and how one core skill that I'm going to teach you about today can free us from the grip of emotional reactivity, even if we're in the midst of being really triggered or really overwhelmed. And it can allow us to collect ourselves and then act with more intention, more effectiveness, and more wisdom, both in our inner lives and our outer lives. So to begin with, I want to share a story with you. So one day, a man bought a brand new house with a beautiful backyard, and he had a vision. He had a dream to create the perfect lawn, lush, green, flawless. So every week, he worked at it diligently, watering, seeding, mowing. But no matter what he did, dandelions kept popping up through the lawn. At first, he was just annoyed and went and just pulled them out by hand, but they just kept coming back. So he went to the store, he bought weed killer, he sprayed it everywhere, and that worked for a while, but then it also damaged the grass. And then after the next rain, the dandelions just returned. Determined, he tried harder. He sprayed them daily. He weeded constantly. And as he did this, he became more and more fixated on getting rid of the dandelions, and he had less and less time for other things. Eventually, he decided the problem must be the soil itself. So he tore up the entire lawn. He dug out all the topsoil. He laid down fresh turf, and then he tended to it meticulously. For a while, everything looked perfect. Until one morning, he stepped out onto his back deck, looked down, and there it was, growing in the middle of the lawn, a single dandelion. So at this point, he got online. He researched. And after a long research session, he concluded that the seeds must be drifting in from the neighbors. That's when his secret campaign began. He snuck into other people's gardens. He left anonymous letters. He tried to rid the entire neighborhood of dandelions. But after a year of this exhausting war, his lawn was still full of dandelions. And now his neighbors were really upset with him. And he'd stopped doing many of the other things he used to love. He'd become so fixated on this mission. But he wasn't going to give up at this point. So in desperation, he wrote to the Department of Agriculture. He told them the whole story, everything he tried, everything he'd been through. And surely they would have the answer. Weeks later, received a letter in the mail. He opened it eagerly, thinking, finally, someone's going to tell me how to solve this problem with dandelions. He opened the letter and it said, "Dear Sir, we've considered your situation carefully, and our best advice is this: learn to love those dandelions." This story is funny and sweet, but it also holds a really important truth. We all have dandelions in our lives in one way, shape, or form, right? Unwanted experiences and events, and especially unwanted feelings. And when they arise, our knee-jerk tendency is to immediately resist them, to immediately try to struggle against them, to immediately try to fix, change, solve, push away, push down, get rid of. And so what this knee-jerk tendency really boils down to is a pattern of resistance. So resistance is a basic pattern of thinking that involves struggling against or refusing to accept the way things are and wanting things to be different. Now, while it is totally understandable that we would want to get away from painful or unpleasant feelings, resistance doesn't actually help us because it only throws fuel on the fire of our suffering. So I want to share with you another story, a real life example about a client that I've worked with. I talked about Sue in my book. Sue came to work with me after she'd been diagnosed with a degenerative disease. And so understandably, she was feeling overwhelmed, anger, shock, fear, sadness. But as I sat across from her one day, her body was tense, her breathing was shallow, she was holding her head in her hands, and she was saying things like, this shouldn't be happening to me. I didn't do anything to deserve this. Why me? I just want this to go away. So, of course, what could be more natural than Sue wanting so badly for things to be different than how they were? None of us would ever wish for a diagnosis like that. But unfortunately, we cannot control everything that happens to us in life. And when we add mental resistance on top of what's happening, what we see is that we end up creating more suffering for ourselves in an already difficult time. So in Sue's case, Sue had been caught in a tailspin of mental resistance, of racing thoughts, of inner struggle like that for days and days, and she was feeling more and more exhausted, overwhelmed, and frantic. So resistance might sound something like, this isn't fair. Why me? I can't cope with this. I hate this. I want this to end. This shouldn't be happening. This thing should or should not have happened in the past that I wish had been different. Resistance often comes in the form of swear words mentally or out loud. Screw this, screw them, F this, F that. And then there's other, like, this sucks. Why did they do this to me? I don't want this to be happening. So these are just some very basic examples, but mental resistance can take many forms. All of them, at their core, involve wishing or wanting the present moment to be different than it is. This basic non-acceptance of what already is fundamentally futile, right? Not only that, but the more strongly you resist what is happening in the present moment, the more suffering and stress you're going to experience, and the more hooked into reactivity you're going to tend to become. So, because remember this, and I'll come back to this again and again, what you resist, you will react to, but what you accept, you can respond to, right? When you're in resistance, when you're in mental resistance, basically you're caught up, hooked into the mind's narrative, and then there's very, very little mental space to make the choices that you need to make to support yourself, to make things better if that's possible, or to give yourself compassion, soothing in the middle of it all. So on that note, let's talk about the antidote to resistance. Acceptance. So acceptance is the antidote to resistance. Now, acceptance does not mean resignation, passivity, like being a doormat, or giving up. Doesn't mean it getting out of touch with your values or your sense of agency. This inner attitude of acceptance, especially in the face of difficult emotions, is simply the attitude of allowing things to be as they are in that moment instead of struggling or mentally resisting against them. So it's the choice internally to let go of psychological suffering, right? So we've already got a hard thing, whether it's feeling anxiety or the diagnosis of an illness. So what we don't want to do is then add all of those layers of resistance on top of that and make something hard much, much worse. So this is fundamentally an act of care and kindness and wisdom towards ourselves. So acceptance is the choice to let go of creating psychological suffering and wage peace instead of war with the way things are. That means waging peace instead of war with difficult emotions like anxiety, like fear, like stress. It means just acknowledging what's true in the moment. And that doesn't mean you are going to have to pretend that you like it or want it. It simply means that you're making peace with the way things are in that moment. Now, there's two main reasons that acceptance is such a powerful way of relating to our emotions as well as our circumstances. The first is what we just spoke about. It alleviates a huge amount of inner turmoil, distress, and anguish. But the second is because it gives us more choice. Not more choice in what happens to us, but in how we respond to what happens. So when we accept, we open up mental space. Right? We have more choice. And while we can't escape all the pain in life, we can let go of unnecessary suffering that's caused by resistance. And then we can free up our inner resources so that we can act intentionally, wisely, and effectively to meet our challenges. So, for instance, you might feel annoyed when you find yourself caught in a traffic jam or when the weather is cold and rainy. But through acceptance, we can start to see that getting annoyed by such things isn't helpful. No matter how frustrated or impatient we become, it's not going to change the weather or move the traffic forward. We just end up creating more suffering and more stress in an unavoidable situation. Not only that, but then your bad mood might start to leak into other areas of life, diminishing your focus at work, meaning that you won't perform as well. It might create conflict in relationships and affect your emotional well-being. So every time we go into resistance, whether we're resisting a traffic jam, a strong emotion, or a late train, we become fused with that mental resistance, the thoughts that are going through our head, and then we become more reactive. So we often feel like we just assume that traffic jams equal irritation, bad weather equals bad mood, a big setback has to equal anxiety. The arising of feelings of insecurity means that we have to not ask that person out on a date or not go for that big job, right? We become reactive to our emotions. We often feel like we have no choice in the matter. We just play out the same patterns that we always play out when that emotion arises or when that situation happens, right? However, if we were to just take a pause, right? This is what we can do through acceptance. If we look around on the rainy day, take a pause, we might see that actually some people are happily splashing in the puddles on the way to work. Some people might be going about their day totally unconcerned about the weather, laughing at jokes, enjoying hot drinks, watching the rain. So we can start to see that there's many different ways to respond to any given situation. And it's the same with emotions. We don't have to react in the way we always do. And we don't have to play out our negative thoughts or our difficult feelings, right? So a feeling of anxiety does not mean you can't go for that job. You can't ask that person out. You shouldn't go to that party, right? It doesn't have to dominate you. Once we understand that we have more choice, that our annoyance, our grumpiness, our holding back our potential is not actually caused by the rain, the traffic, the setback, or the emotion, but by our reaction to it, now we have the ability to choose a new response. We become more psychologically flexible. So we can ask ourselves, do I want to buy into and play out all these thoughts and reactive patterns? Do I want to go along the path that I always know leads to annoyance, leads to me holding back my potential, leads to unhelpful actions? Or should I choose to respond in a different way, one that alleviates suffering and helps me actualize my potential and thrive? So acceptance is power, because from the state of acceptance, we let go of the mental resistance. That means we let go of the suffering and reactivity that comes with resistance. And now we have choice. And we can choose a new, more flexible, creative, and empowered way to meet our emotions and our circumstances in ways that help us to flourish. So when we do find ourselves in the midst of emotional reactivity, so let's just say something just happened and you're feeling a strong emotion and you've become swept up in it, or you just realize that you were, deep in resistance. Why me? Why is this happening to me? I wish this was different. Like, if you catch yourself in those emotions, those emotional or mental reactions, it's important to know that judging or berating yourself for having what are quite normal human emotional and mental reactions is not helpful. So just staying away as best you can from judging yourself, and instead focus on accepting also that reality as part of the present moment you're in. So just accepting that, yep, you got caught in resistance or emotional reactivity, and then once again, stepping into a greater awareness, more flexibility, and inner peace. So I want to offer you a tip, knowing that acceptance is power, and that that rule of what you resist, you will react to. What you accept, you can respond to. I want to offer you a practice called the mantra of inner peace. And the mantra of inner peace is an acceptance practice that you can use no matter where you find yourself, no matter what's happening in any kind of situation. You can use the mantra of inner peace to step out of reactivity back into acceptance, so that you can kind of find your center and strength again, and then be able to move forward in your life with more intention and awareness. So the mantra of inner peace is just to say to yourself mentally a simple phrase: right now, it's like this. Right now, it's like this. That's a way of saying, this is how it is, right? There's a traffic jam. That's how it is. Right now, it's like this. So instead of saying to yourself, why me? Stupid traffic. I hate this. Why did I come this way? These other drivers are incompetent. All of that is a mental struggle with what is. All of that mental dialogue underneath at its core has a underlying tone of, this shouldn't be happening. I don't want things to be as they are right now. So to counter all of that, right now, it's like this. It's a way of saying yes to the moment instead of no. So you can use a phrase like this to stop going to war with what is and make peace with it instead. You might even, I have a friend, I want to tell you this story. I have a friend who likes to use a lot of humor. She has her own personal version of the mantra of inner peace. And it comes from a Zen story where she says, thank you very much. I have no complaints whatsoever. And she does a little bow, like a little prayer in the center of the chest and a little bow. It's like a funny in-joke that we have. So you can make this your own. You can make your own mantra of inner peace, but in some way, shape, or form, the intention behind the mantra of inner peace is to say yes to life instead of no to life. To stop going to war with what is and wage peace with it. Drop the struggle against what is, and you will alleviate stress and suffering and open up to your power to respond. Remember, again, what you resist, you will react to, but what you accept, you can respond to. So coming back to our story about the man with the dandelions, you can imagine him after going through his spiritual epiphany of accepting the dandelions, goes back and makes a cup of tea, sits on the deck, and, years later, the dandelions are still there. But he's let go of the struggle against them and made peace with them. He's made friends with the neighbors again. He's enjoying the neighborhood. The sun's out, the birds are singing, and he's at ease within the middle of it all. Not because the dandelions are gone, but because he's no longer so fixated, exhausting himself, trying to control them. So he realizes something that Sue realized as well with her diagnosis, that when you stop resisting and obsessing over trying to get rid of what's difficult in your life, then you can also make mental space for what's good in life to be seen and experienced and felt and known as well. You make space for all of life, including the imperfections, and you can find ease, flexibility, and freedom and peace of mind in the middle of it all. So, friends, you don't have to get rid of all the difficult feelings in your life to find peace and freedom of mind. You just need to stop fighting the feelings, because when you release resistance, you reclaim your power. You begin to respond instead of being emotionally reactive, and you come back to your place of strength inside of yourself. So the next time life gives you some dandelions in the form of difficult emotions, try taking a breath, say the mantra, and remember that you can find calm, you can find strength, you can find peace even in the midst of that moment. And if you want some more support with this practice, if you want to rewire your mindset, create an inner sense of safety, stability, and strength in a way that really sticks, we're going to be doing that together in the Unwinding Anxiety course. 7 short daily lessons, 7 live coaching calls with me, bonus meditations, and lifetime access. This isn't just a course. This is a comprehensive anxiety support pack that you can use for life. It's just $85, money back guaranteed, and it isn't just a course, it's a reset, it's a realignment with who you really are deep down and the tools that you need to thrive. So if you've been feeling the weight of the world a little bit more than usual lately, this course is for you. All the links are in the show notes. As always, thank you for being here, friend. I really hope this episode helps you to live a more rich, full, and meaningful life. I'll see you on the next episode. Till then, take good care and stay strong. If you know someone who you think might benefit from listening to this episode, share it with them. Sharing it could really help them to feel better and improve the quality of their life. And if you found this episode helpful, remember to subscribe to this podcast so that you can receive more tips on growing your inner strength and keep practicing along with us every week. And if you'd like some more support in becoming mentally, emotionally, and spiritually stronger, come check out the offerings I have to support you on my website at www.mellyobrien.com. As well as coaching and course options, I also have a bunch of free resources for you, including a free Deep Resilience Care Package, which you can begin to use right away to get some immediate relief from stress and suffering improve your resilience and mental well-being, and help you navigate whatever you're going through with more wisdom, skill, and confidence. You can find the links for all of that in the show notes. Thanks again for tuning in. Take care and stay strong.